Hi everyone, today we're going to be looking at this demonstration. On the corner here is a scratch on a bumper. It's quite common to happen, whether it be in a car park, hitting a pole or something like that. So we're going to first clean the surface a little bit to see if it's actually just paint transfer or if there is actually scratches underneath. So I'm just going to firstly grab a clean lint-free cloth, a little bit of wax and grease remover first. Damage has already come off there. I know it can be a little bit hard to see black against this dark colour. You can see I removed most of it, but there is quite a fair bit of scratches here, okay, and a lot down here. Hope you guys enjoy it. Yeah. So before we start sanding, we're going to look at the colour and match the colour. So before you start sanding your project, it's always a good idea that we can match the colour first. So I found the colour inside the door pillar. So I've got a couple of variations of this particular colour. I don't know if you can see a close-up of that. You see some of them are fairly close, while like this one here is quite outside the realms of the standard. There is reasons for that. We have variation in production line, also substrates and things like that. So I'm just going to have a look against the vehicle here and I'll go through. You can see that one's quite dark. We're getting a little bit closer. That's not too bad. It can be a little bit hard to see on camera. I'm actually looking at 3 angles. Then we have that one there. I think this one here looks the best. That's the alternate one. The other way to look at it, if we don't have the privilege of having a variation colour swatches, is we compound a little bit of area, use our spectrometer, which I'm going to do, take 3 readings and then put it onto the computer, and hopefully we can get a better and closer accurate result. Right, let's go inside and have a look. Oh, there we go. We have some good colour matches here. 1, 2, 3, 4, they're all very close. We can just check that out, have a little bit of a look at the angles. There's different ways. See, there's 3 degrees, 15 degrees, 45 and 110, so we can get all 3 angles that are right, and we can choose whichever one we want. I'm going to go with that one there. I'm happy with that. FX, we're going to use the shaded formula. There we go, and we just make it up. So get yourself organised, get a table, put all your products on the table so that way you're not working off the floor. What this does is it makes it just a little bit easier and less messy for your job, and that way you know where everything is. Right, let's get stuck into it straight away. So I'm just going to clean a larger surface with wax and grease remover to get rid of any grease and grime. Get yourself a little pumpy bottle like this. Pick them up from most hardware places. Water in there, a little bit of soapy water, so liquid hand detergent or washing liquid, that's fine. Got myself a block, one of my favourite blocks. I'm using 400 wet and dry. So you can just wet the surface down, look at that, rather than working out of a bucket. You can work out of a bucket, but I like it. Fairly happy with that, so we're just going to now mask up the vehicle so that we can start doing the rest of the prep work, priming, etc. So we've prepped up the area, so you can see it's quite a big job. We're going to be spending less time spraying than prepping. I'm going to be using a special primer at the moment. This one here is designed for plastic, so we'll put a few coats on and see how we go. This here is a little sticky cloth. This is a tack cloth. What that does, it's more critical later than it is now. So I just wipe this over the surface very lightly, and it'll pick up any hair or filament that might have been left by either my shirt or fallen on it. I know we are working outside, so we are limited. So every spray can is slightly different. So you can see with this one here, see the spray pattern? So you want to get it, obviously that's too much. So I have to test it so I get a nice even coat. See how it's nice and shiny? Ignoring the run, of course. All right, we'll let that go for 5 minutes. So I'll put 3 coats of primer on there, the nice full coats. It should be smooth and not rough like sandpaper, so it should be nice and smooth, apart from a little bit of the overspray. Now I'm using dry rather than wet paper, so it's the white one. Otherwise, primer does absorb moisture, so it's not always a good idea to sand your primer wet. So let's just sand this area down. A couple of little extra options. I'm going to use an adhesion promoter, especially up on these little edges where I've only keyed with 1200, so that way the paint can blend a little bit better onto it, as well as it just gives a little bit of more adhesion. So I can just put a little bit on those edges that I've missed if I wanted to, and I know my blends are going to come into about there. As another option for when we're blending colours is using a value shade. In this case I'm using a dark value shade. What this does is when I'm looking at a dark car, see how this is a light grey primer here, this is a darker grey that helps me blend the colour a lot easier, as well as adding coverage for my colour. If you had a white car, you wouldn't use a dark grey, you would use a very light value shade. So rather than covering it for like 4, say for instance 4 coats, you're only covering 2 coats, and you're not going to see that blend. I'm only going to use the value shade here, and hopefully when we're looking at the colour, I can show you the difference, what that does. Oh, here we go. So I'm putting a little bit of a light coat on here. You can see me just blending it either side. What you want to do is blend into your damaged area, not flick out, otherwise you're chasing the colour down the edge. So I see I'm flicking in the colour, blending it into the damage, or into the primer in this case. Okay, that's all you need. So you can see how light this colour is and see how dark this is. It's almost as quite close to the actual colour of the vehicle. All right, now for the exciting part. Everyone wants to rush to this. As I said, it's all in the prep work. So we're going to be applying our colour. Firstly, a light little coat, and onto these areas in particular that I've primed, and we'll do a bit of a comparison right here of my value shade primer versus just my standard grey primer. Let's have a look. As you can see, the grey primer is still a little bit patchy, whereas your colour here, it's almost covered in one coat. It makes a big difference when you're coming to do with the blend. All right, I'm just going to put a couple of coats down just to finish off my little areas, and then we'll come back into it. I'm putting a light little mist coat down on my little areas. You can see the fan, it's a little bit light, but I'm being very consistent with my work. I'm blending into my damaged area. Okay, finally into the fun part, the home stretch. But very critical part. We're putting on the clear coat in this case. There's many different clears out there. We're going to be using a single pack clear here, but there is 2-pack clears that are available, and a variety of other different ones that have their different properties that can be advantage in different situations. So the first coat, we're going to be blending up to the edge, applying it around and bringing it up to an edge. Clear coat's very important if we're spraying it back from here. I'm spraying it any old how or over here. See how it's not coming up nice and shiny? So distance and speed is very critical. How you put the clear on is how it's going to dry, provided the weather's right. Okay, let's have a look. Being consistent is very important, so we can get a nice pattern. See, as I'm curving around the corner, it's the same distance the entire time, the same speed, And you can see it hopefully coming out glossy out off the can. Up to an edge, that's where I put my adhesion promoter. That's your first coat down. We've got a couple more of those to go. One of the other things you can use, but you have to use it very quickly, is where I've got a little bit of overspray here where it blends into from the new clear to the old clear. Just want to put a little bit of light, this light, and what that does is dissolves the overspray and flattens it out. And we're done.